Años sin llegar hasta acá, así que alguna ni siquiera exista.
Hijo de puta, le estoy diciendo bro.
Pará.
¡Ahí se va toda la mierda, todos al piso! ¡Vos también al piso!
Tranquilo.
What's up everyone? Thanks and welcome to Gemma Movie Recap. This time, I will discuss one of the films with a robbery background, based on a true story, entitled The Heist of the Century. This film tells of a casual worker who suddenly has the idea to steal a local bank in Argentina. Finally he gathered people who he thought could be invited to work together. Then slowly, he began to assemble looking for them so that the robbery went smoothly. Then can odd workers and selected people be able to steal banks with a very high level of security? Without further ado, let's get started. The scene begins with a man named Fernando Araujo, where he is an artist as well as a martial arts trainer in his city. One night, when he had just finished teaching martial arts at the training ground, Araujo decided to go home on foot against the pouring rain. But at that time, he suddenly saw a stream of water leading to a ditch along with a cigarette butt he threw away. When he saw where the water was flowing, it turned out that the ditch was right in front of a bank called Banco Rio. Finally Araujo tried to find out where the water was flowing, to the disposal site. And it was there that for the first time Araujo had the idea to rob a bank. The first thing he did was to invite his colleague named Sebastian. Sebastian, who works as a craftsman, agrees with this. But he wanted Araujo to find someone who could finance their heist. Araujo thought hard to find anyone who could fund his robbery. He then tried to approach his colleague named Doc at a church. But Doc replied, if he can't help him. But he could advise Araujo to ask his partner named Mario. We move on to Mario. He is a master thief who has one daughter that he loves very much. Mario tries to improve his relationship with his daughter, by always cutting his hair where his daughter works. Apart from cutting his hair, Mario returned to looking for money by stealing. He climbed a company building that had closed, then managed to take some money which he thought was quite a lot. When Mario was about to run away, it turned out that there was still an employee in the building. In the end, Mario pretended to be an apprentice who was about to come home late at night. He introduces his name as Enrique. Luckily Mario managed to make the employee believe so he could escape easily. When Mario ran away, apparently Araujo had been watching him while communicating with Doc. Araujo told him that he was monitoring Mario's movements. But he didn't realize it, apparently Mario knew that he was being followed. Mario immediately asked what Araujo was doing. Araujo replied that he was introduced by his colleague named Doc to meet him. Because of the explanation from Doc, Mario began to understand. On the way home, he explained that he had a plan to rob a bank called Banco Rio. He also praised the way Mario stole money in various places. But what Araujo regrets is the way Mario left his mark. Now Araujo will show how the robbery will happen. He brought Mario to Banco Rio. Then he stuck a tape measure down the ditch and went to where the drains were. There Araujo explained that they were now right under the bank. Feeling this heist would be successful, Mario agreed to join him. Finally a temporary team was formed with Araujo as the mastermind behind this robbery. Mario as a diversion of the situation. Sebastian and Doc work as executors. Araujo, Doc and Mario start gathering at Araujo's residence. He wanted to show how the motion sensors in the bank work. Actually the sensor does not detect movement, but the sensor detects differences in temperature, so he has a costume that can outwit the detector. Then Araujo gathered all his team. Slowly they started discussing how they got into the bank. Araujo had time to measure the depth of the canal as deep as 18 meters. He also ordered Doc to measure the direction from the bank to where their waterways are. After successfully measuring. But all this is not enough. They need a bank plan. Finally Araujo moved. He entered into the bank to pretend as a customer. There, he photographed various corners of the bank's rooms to serve as benchmarks as floor plans for them. Araujo knew he must have been caught by the security forces. But Araujo is smart. He managed to hide his camera memory card while the guards were trying to check if Araujo was taking pictures inside the bank. Araujo was eventually released after he was proven innocent. Here Araujo's ideas run wild. After successfully finding the bank's plan, it is now much easier for them to determine which room they can break into. He and Mario continued to discuss about it with clever calculations from Araujo. Because they already know which room they will break into, finally the drilling begins. For days they tried to break in crosswise, between the water channel area and one of the rooms in the bank. But when the team's progress was in the middle, Mario began to doubt the idea that Araujo gave. Because so far he never explained how they robbed a bank and opened the safe deposit box in it. He didn't want their efforts to be in vain, so Mario pressured Araujo to immediately think of this method. If not, then with great compulsion he will withdraw in this mission. Didn't want his team to just disband, Araujo started to think. At that time, he and a middle woman looked at the beautiful stars in the sky. While Araujo was daydreaming, his girlfriend suddenly spoke. "We think they exist, but in reality they are not." These words made Araujo really awaken right then and there. He suddenly had a brilliant idea to break into the deposit box inside the bank. Araujo quickly left his girlfriend and went straight to Mario at his residence. Araujo wanted to explain that he had found the right way to solve the problem. He then showed a picture that he had designed in such a way. Whereupon he realized that when the central bank was in operating hours, they would not activate the alarm and would not lock the safe door. It never occurred to anyone in this world. So what if the hole they have been digging all this time they are not going to use it to get inside? But the hole will be their way of escape. And the way to get into the bank is by robbing it casually. Hearing the explanation of ideas from Araujo really made Mario very excited. Finally he and Mario began to gather his comrades. With a new member named Tori, they have now decided to enter the bank in a unique way. After all the tools and preparations had been perfectly arranged, the next day Araujo and the team started moving. At first they each entered the bank looking normal and unsuspecting. But after they knew the situation was safe, each of them slowly put on a mask and started pointing their guns at every visitor and employee to lie down. As a result, in an instant they all managed to control the situation. Then Araujo immediately went to the place where Sebastian was going to break into. There he helped Sebastian get in and went straight to the parking area to get a safecracker. Before this robbery started, Araujo had made it clear that within minutes the police would be surrounding the bank. Therefore someone had to be able to keep the police busy while the team was breaking into hundreds of safe deposit boxes holding valuable assets. And the right person to keep the police busy is Mario. He even took acting classes to act like a real robber. Sure enough, not long after they managed to take over the bank, the police immediately surrounded them and tried to communicate with them. Mario, who used the name Walter, immediately served the police. The first thing Mario asked for was, he asked the police chief to lower all of his men who were on the roof. The police chief immediately followed Mario's will, while Sebastian and Araujo were busy breaking into box after box containing gold bars, jewelry and some money. The atmosphere is getting tense. The head of police slowly asked for Sandra to be released, after they granted Mario several requests including himself asking for a prosecutor. Finally the chief of police summoned a prosecutor named Chester. Instead of consulting, Mario actually invited Chester to chat for a moment, because he needed relaxation. Mario really does his job very well. When time was slowly running out, Araujo asked his team to carry out the steps they had planned, namely turning off all the cameras. Then they started moving to disable all the CCTV cameras inside the bank. When Mario had just finished deactivating the camera, he suddenly heard a telephone ringtone. Mario also asked whose cell phone it was. A middle-aged woman raised her hand. She admits that the call is hers, as today is her birthday. Hearing this, Mario immediately treated the woman named Susanna well. He even asked Doc to get him some candles, and had all the hostages sing him a happy birthday song. What they did really made Susanna very happy. As a reward Mario would get Susanna out of the bank. But he asked Susanna to give a statement to the police about how well he treated her. After successfully removing the hostages one by one, Mario again kept the police busy with all his boasting. Mario didn't want to make the chief of police have a move that could threaten his partner's robbery. The return stage is treated, now the seventh stage is weapons and handrails. Because at that time Araujo and Sebastian had managed to break into all the safety deposit boxes, and moved all of their contents into the sacks they had prepared. As a result, the team immediately withdrew one by one. They also collected the weapons they were carrying. We move on to the night before the incident took place, where it seems that during the negotiations, they negotiated whether they would use replica weapons or real weapons during the robbery. There is a bit of tension. Luckily Araujo managed to defuse the situation by asking them to think clearly. Even though they were carrying real weapons, neither the police nor the robbers would open fire. So Araujo decided to carry a replica weapon. Then after collecting all the weapons, they one by one entered the hole they had prepared. Of course in the waterways they have prepared boats after they dammed the waterways. When the chief of police was about to call Walters alias Mario again, he received absolutely no answer from him. At the same time the families of the victims suddenly got calls from the hostages who were in the bank. Sensing something odd, the police chief immediately prepared troops to break into the bank. Sure enough, the robbers had disappeared. They immediately tried to teach. The police team is looking for where the robbers fled. And apparently they found a hole. But when the police chief opened the cupboard that covered the hole, he found a grenade that made him think many times about going into the hole. But after his team confirmed that the weapons the robbers were carrying were declared fake, he began to enter the hole, which turned out to be the path the robbers fled. Once again the robbers were one step further than the police, for they had arrived at another exile heading straight for the car they had prepared. As a result the robbers managed to climb the stairs one by one with their luggage, then just left using the car they had prepared. So you could say this robbery was very successful. The police couldn't find any trace of the perpetrator. Meanwhile Araujo, Mario, Doc, Tori, and Sebastian managed to enjoy the results of their robbery very happily. They buy luxury goods like cars. Mario with his gold rings and Araujo with the simplicity he has, even though he has a lot of money. But as each of them has a new life, and Araujo has moved from Argentina, the truth begins to unfold when Tori's wife catches her husband cheating on her. Because of this, Tori's wife reported to the police that her husband was a member of the Banco Rio bank robbery. Finally the police quickly caught Tori, who slowly made Domino's arrangement collapse, because after being caught, the method of one-by-one robbery members began to be caught. Sebastian and the doctor catch him at his house. Mario was caught while he was eating lunch with his son. And Araujo who was caught while he was on a spiritual journey up the mountain. That way they were all caught, and each received a proper prison sentence. But several years passed, each of them did not forget the other. After Araujo got out of prison he was picked up by Mario to return to enjoy his life. And the last scene in this film shows the losses that Banco Rio Bank got, where it turned out that the robbery led by Araujo managed to steal as much as $25 million, and tens of kilos of gold bars. The end. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to watch other videos. See you in the next video.